Brian De Palma's finest film, one of the most exhilarating rewatchable films of all time, is 1981's Blowout. Vilmos Zsigmond's cinematography is the finest in any of De Palma's films. The most impressive screenplay potentially which he had ever worked with, and one he wrote solely himself, and one which is conscious of certain elements having a finer visual emphasis than their description in scripted text, or potentially, maybe without able skill in the prose form, knowing that their visualization in a lived reality will conjure the believability of certain plot elements more so. Travolta and Allen, no, maybe these are the best performers in a De Palma film. Lithgow also. He is completely unforgettable as the professional Iceman hired by a government faction to initially just capture scandalous photographs, but whose cold pathology and choice of profession lends themselves to unpredictable sadism and abstracted justifications for more violence. Travolta, not even 30 yet, proves himself a radiant, as Cale once wrote, player. Allen's charisma and capacity for believable roles was already proven in Dress to Kill, and to those that knew her subsequent work, of course. Whereas even with Pulp Fiction, Travolta was an actor cast for his star power rather than his transformative versatility. In Tarantino's picture, it is via De Palma in Blowout when he is elevated into an extraordinary young acting talent, morphing into Jack Terry, transcending his celebrity status. It also would enabling a viewer to accept that Terry is a charming disco dancing or 70s, 50s revival, whatever that is meant to be anyway, starred in another lifetime, but was instead obsessed with radio wave technology and audio recording, joining the armed forces, then under the police of Philadelphia, I assume still in Philadelphia, I could be mistaken though, helping to engineer wires to root out potential corrupt officers. This led to a highly traumatic incident wherein Jack Terry decided to work for sound design on movies, the kind of films which De Palma was accused of making, low-effort sleazy slashers, which really took off some years down the track, as everyone already knows, in the wider mainstream, or semi-mainstream, Friday the 13th, Halloween sequels, Nightmare to some extent, all the rest of that nonsense. Just numbers, offerings, curtains, body count, Sorority Girl, Massacre, there's so many of these fucking things. One of the most captivating and enjoyable, charismatic male lead performances in English language history. Travolta would have surprised viewers then, and still now, known more so for disco-era films and an older sitcom, the Tarantino picture, and some Scientologist controversy at this point now. De Palma's fascination with government covert cover-ups is at its most refined here, until 2007's Redacted at least. At once, the government conspiracy is grounded and not out of the realm of certain imagination. It doesn't imply a hidden superstate, just a federal equivalent of mafia or corporate criminal machinations. Actually, as is heavily inferred, the killing of the political candidate McRyan was not intended. This was Burke, Lithgow's character's bloodthirsty initiative. Though at the same time it represents the government as capable of many unscrupulous acts and having the resources to smooth over said acts in a believable yet stealthy manner. It is the perfect depiction of plausible government conspiracy theories, setting a standard rarely emulated, possibly inspired the work of Christopher Boe in 2010's Everything Will Be Fine. Polanski's The Ghost Rider was released the same year, but is a touch also more sensational, even when compared to the De Palma film, interesting to note. The music from Pino Donaggio, it applies the disco funk rock in the most seamless manner, it feeling like the product of the film's analog modernity. The film's content, analog audio tapes, primes an audience/viewer for the potentially dated musical priorities. The string sections invoke the ideals of classical faded romance, Hollywood optimism, when Jack and Sally are together, and to the disco frenetic tension, when Jack is attempting to find evidence to prove what he heard at the site of the car crash. This would be my favourite of Donaggio's scores for De Palma. The bassline number, which plays when Jack is first putting together the film of the accident, setting it to his audio, Jack discovers gunshot, is one of the most effortlessly cool moments in any movie, and a fantastic demonstration. Play it without sound, play it with, an already effective, captivating moment, even in isolation, so elevated, moulded by that sleek disco funk piece. The best film ever made about the process of filmmaking itself, not a vainglorious ode to a filmmaker trying to maintain a set, not an overly sentimental appeal to dull childhood cliches, and not some overtly theoretical, abstracted treatise for critics or university academics, as Haneke, Lynch, or even Goddard's Contempt, or hell, even Antonioni's Blow Up. The inspiration in many ways for this film, as was Coppola's The Conversation, also inspired by Blow Up, and also one of the very best films of all time. Blowout involves the theory, organically into the narrative and grounds it in a modern reality, as the best lecturing of Rick Roderick does for the textbook canon philosophers and the modern/postmodern theory rush proponents of Derrida, Baudrillard, or Foucault. Every idea espoused in De Palma's films might see its finest realization in Blowout. I'm welcome to any and all suggestions where this is concerned, of course. When I first saw the film, I wondered if I had a new top favourite. If I hadn't seen maybe 20 other odds-specific films, Blowout might easily be my all-time favourite. What are the other best films ever made? What have we discussed on this program, for example? In alphabetical order, let me read some of these out. 2001: A Space Odyssey, Aguirre, The Wrath of God, Akira, Alien, Apocalypse Now, Artemis 81, The Assault of the Present on the Rest of Time, The S. Phoenix Syndrome, The Atrocity Exhibition, Bait, A Q, Beast, Begotten, The Beyond, The Black Cannon Incident, Blade on the Feather, Blade Runner, Bloody Morning, Blow Up, Brazil, The Bridge on the River Kwai. Okay, we'll just call it here and settle it on among the very best films discussed in this program in the A and B categories. There's so many amazing films out there, but then there's so many films out there, and a small fraction of these, literally countless films, are absolutely sublime, and Blowout I consider one of them. When I watch Blowout, I'm completely in understanding of why I obsess over the film medium, the animation medium at large, of which film is ultimately a subset of, really. Though I really am confused as to why I have this obsession, these classics keep popping up, and they elevate my experiences, my exposures to the designated real-life, real-world, as the best philosophical, critical, theoretical texts are poised to accomplish, or are able to accomplish at least. Thank you everyone who has stayed this long. We'll be going to 1984 next, the apotheosis film of popular culture where America might be concerned, at least from that year. Let's take a look then.